Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or the guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
I'm John Strum, and this is RealTalk MS. It's Friday, May 25th, and welcome to a special episode of RealTalk MS. I'm at the International Progressive MS Alliance Scientific Congress in Toronto, Canada. The theme of the Scientific Congress is Progressive MS, making a difference through rehabilitation and symptom management. And yesterday, we wrapped up an intense and almost overwhelming 2 days where more than 200 researchers, clinicians, and people living with progressive MS came together from 16 different countries to ask questions, share their knowledge, and determine how to best impact the MS rehabilitation and symptom management research agenda. Yesterday included a presentation on how some of the insights from stroke rehabilitation can be transferred to MS rehabilitation. There were detailed presentations on some of the key areas impacting translational strategies in progressive MS, conversations about comorbidities, cognition, exercise, and functional recovery. There were experts giving presentations on managing fatigue, creating a greater sense of resilience, and a novel strategy for bladder management. But most of all, there was a sense of this event, this scientific congress, being sort of a jumping-off point, an event to mark the place when rehabilitation experts, neurologists, researchers, and people living with progressive MS got together and began talking, exchanging new ideas, and sharing their perspectives on how best to raise the bar when it comes to MS rehabilitation. This event may well be remembered as a moment when the next generation of MS rehabilitation and symptom management strategies began to take shape, and when professionals who don't always have an opportunity to come together at events like this saw the value in collaboration. I talked with Dr. Karen Lee, Director of Research for the MS Society of Canada, and Dr. Lee shared some of her takeaways from the Scientific Congress. I'm talking with Dr. Karen Lee, the Vice President of Research at the MS Society in Canada. And Karen, we're a day and a half into the Scientific Congress, and I'm wondering if you could share some of your overall impressions.
Sure. Thank you, John. It's been a really awesome conference. I think one of the greatest things about this Congress specifically is it's focused on rehabilitation and symptom management. And this is an area where we hear from people living with progressive MS the importance of being able to do something besides taking potentially drugs. What can they do for themselves to improve their quality of life? And I think one of the exciting things we're seeing here since yesterday is the excitement in the room of the scientists, the clinicians, and the people who are impacted by the disease. And for me, one of the really interesting things was seeing what we could potentially learn, not only from people living with MS, but also from different fields. And I think for me, that was really cool to see that stuff.
We've had just amazing experts talking about rehabilitation in stroke and rehabilitation in spinal cord injury. And we've had great presentations on everything from fatigue to bladder issues to the value of exercise when you're living with progressive MS. Is there anything that specifically stands out, a takeaway or two that you've gleaned from the conference?
So I think it actually came from the first session of yesterday. And that was really interesting to see, specifically in the work in depression and as well as in stroke. What they were talking about is the ability to stratify patients. So can we look for clues to indicate how people will react to a treatment. So I thought that was really interesting. And what can we do in MS? I know it's something we struggle with, specifically with the terms of the types of MS. What is progressive MS is always something that's a big topic. But if we can somehow figure a way to stratify the patients, I think it might really help us in not only drug treatment, but in rehabilitation. What may work better for someone versus another person? Because I think what we're also hearing a lot about is MS is a very personal journey. You can't just take something and assume it's going to work for that everybody. And we really need to make sure there's many options out there for people. And what can we do to ensure that they're getting the best advice and, more importantly, the biggest impact for what we're providing?
So last night I watched you be part of actually emceeing the announcement of the International Progressive MS Alliance's future strategies, the next steps, the next area of focus they're going to be working on. I wonder if you might share some of your thoughts on the future strategies that were announced.
So we are still really in need of understanding progression. Why do people progress? And I think there's a real desire from everyone to understand, why do I progress in my disease and what may be the cues for that? So some of the work that the Alliance will continue to do beyond what we've currently funded is going to be critical, as well as finding outcome measures, biomarkers. How do we identify things over time? But I think the key thing, and the one I'm really interested in, is on rehabilitation and symptom management. And I think Congress is the kickoff of that. We are now building a momentum to understand what we can do specifically as an alliance to ensure we bring tangible treatments for people living with progressive MS as quick as possible.
Dr. Karen Lee, thanks so much for talking with me.
Thank you so much, John.
I also met up with Bernadette Porter, a consultant nurse at the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery in the UK, and Bernadette walked me through her innovative approach to bladder management that's already being pilot tested today. I'm talking with Bernadette Porter, who is a consultant nurse at the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery, and we are talking about quite an innovative program that she presented earlier today at the Scientific Congress. Bernadette, I'm hoping you can walk us through a little bit of what you shared with all of our attendees today.
Okay, thank you very much, John. So I'm leading a project called NeuroResponse. It's a new model of care that was co-designed with people living with MS and their families, with health clinicians. And the background is that across UCL Partners, which is an academic health science region of London, where it is estimated that 10,000 people with MS live, we, as a group of hospitals, audited our services because we wanted to benchmark ourselves. And these were big hospitals like UCLH, the Royal Free, Barts in London. So big hospitals. We wanted to see if we could benchmark our activity, what our new follow-up ratios were, our length of stay in hospitals, our planned admissions. And we also asked the auditor to tell us if there's any unplanned admissions, and if so, what would be the top diagnostic codes that would cause unplanned admissions. So the auditor went off and did his work and came back with a report to us. And the thing that stood out from the report was this finding that across the region, in 1 year alone, there was over 250 presentations to A&E and admissions related to urinary tract infections. So that really stopped us on our tracks as a group of clinicians, because we were thinking, we know there's bladder dysfunction in MS, but why? Some of these people are under specialist teams already, and what are they doing in A&E and, at midnight on a Saturday? And we really thought, and also that it was completely off our radar as the specialist groups. So we wanted to understand that more. So I'm very passionate about the idea of co-design, and co-design means that we work really closely with the user, the person. In this case, it would be the person living with MS and their family. And it's a very simple methodology. We use the toolkit from the King's Fund, and that's actually available free to anyone that wants to look at that kit. And we used that, and what we did was, it just taught us to go out and interview people, ask open-ended questions. We went out into people's homes and said, hey, you know what? We know from the audit data that you were in A&E and that you were admitted last weekend. Tell me the story behind that. Why did you end up there? And people told us that it was really difficult to access GPs. They also described that they knew they were having a urinary tract infection themselves, but it wasn't like classical textbook UTI that most generalists would be trained in. So their symptoms were things like increased tone, difficulty walking, maybe being more fatigued. So they described these things and said that then when they would ring trying to get through to their family practitioner, their GP, there was often a delay. They were often asked to bring a specimen pot, but they didn't even have a specimen pot at home to bring a specimen. And also that then someone would dipstick their urine, say, okay, we'll give you an antibiotic, and give them an antibiotic without any discussion. The person might say, I'm resistant to that. I'm not sure it's going to work for me. But the answer was, doesn't matter. That's what you're getting, because that's what we prescribe here in town today. So these were the stories that individuals told us.
And so the program you developed, it's designed to keep people out of the hospital. It's designed to make them a little more self-sufficient and a little self-care involved.
Yes, absolutely. Because then when we, another part of the co-design is that when you have your evidence, you must bring it in, and use it together. So we bring the clinicians and the patients and their families together. That's when you discuss the findings. You don't do it in silos like you do in a very academic tradition. So you bring everyone in the room together and share the findings. And in that, discussion, people said, look, do you know what? We would really like to self-manage some of this. We actually have a very good idea when we're becoming unwell ourselves, and we're buying dipsticks on Amazon, but we don't really know how to interpret them. But if you could teach us, and if you could train us and give us some, share some of your knowledge, a combination of your scientific knowledge about the bladder and how it works and how it affects my body, plus my expertise as an individual and my family's expertise, then maybe we could have a solution together. So empowering people to self-manage was a fundamental first step.
That's great. And so they were provided with basically an at-home care kit.
Absolutely, yes. So then we thought, the other thing was people said, well, we should have an anticipatory care plan. Because, it's not a surprise that people with MS get a urinary tract infection. So, and if so, why can't we plan and be smart about it and have that plan in place? They also said to us that, as specialist teams, you're great, but guess what? You operate Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. My UTIs don't operate on that time scale. So, out of hours, we're lost. And what we would want to do is be able to access expert advice out of hours. And that's one of the challenges that we've had to think about. And when we put the audit together, we shared the audit and the actual individual stories, the next thing was, I must say it was depressing for the clinicians because everyone had worked really hard over the years, but then they found out that guess what? Even no matter how hard we're working in our specialist centres, this is happening. So this is not good. It's not good for people living with MS. It's not good for the NHS. It's just a bad story. So instead of being all depressed about it and beating each other up, we thought, well, what we'll do is we'll concentrate. We'll take a positive approach to this. And I brought everyone together. So everyone in the system, so the commissioners that pay for the care, the GPs, the district nurses, the neurologists, the urologists, the microbiologists, the pharmacologists, all the ologists, and brought everyone in together, and then, but most importantly, with people with MS and their families. And we said, okay, it's all about depressing, but we're not going to be depressed about it. We're going to harness the energy of this room now, because between us all, we could do something different. We could make a difference. So what I wanted people to do was think about life in a brilliant borough and imagine that everything was perfect. What would that look like? And that afternoon, we designed Brilliant Borough. And that's what I'm doing. I'm on an innovation fellowship to the NHS at the moment, and I've turned Brilliant Borough to life, and I'm delivering it now.
So what's the status of Brilliant Borough today? Where are you?
Okay, so for the last 10 months or so, I've been in Camden just testing the system because it has a number of components. So it involves having an anticipatory care plan that links over central to 111. And when you ring, the system recognizes you as the individual, pulls your care plan out. You're having an intelligent conversation with someone who's looking at your anticipatory care plan. You've got some specimen kits at home. You've got a digital dipstick at home. You've got a courier who'll come around to your house and collect your specimen from you. If the lab fast tracks your specimen and it turns out you've got an infection and you need something out of ours, we've got an on-call pharmacist who will prescribe, dispense, courier it back around to you. So we've got a number of components in the system that have to work together to be effective. So for the last almost a year now, I've been testing those components. Do they work? Does the guy in the bike, turn up? Does the pharmacist, if I'm the nurse on call, do I wake up when the bleep comes in? Those sort of questions. And so I've been running that, and I've been a case manager for 5 complex care patients in Camden over 12 months. And what I can do is I can look at the data and look at what happened to them in before we put this intervention in. And we know for those 5 individuals that they had over 11 admissions in the year before, and they had spent 68 days in hospital between them. And since we've put this intervention in, no one has turned up in A&E with a UTI. We've managed everything through the new model of care, and people and their families really like it. So we're now just being commissioned very recently, and we go into another borough in London, and we're going to go to Barnet, and it's a large geographical borough, and there's probably 500 to 600 people with MS living there. And a colleague is care planning this week as we stand, and we'll be going live in 6 weeks with 500 to 600 people. And if we use that data and we can prove that this is a good model of care, something that's safe, effective, improves quality of life, then we'll be asking for this to be business as usual and have it out there for everyone living with MS in the UK, and then hopefully sharing that and know-how with our colleagues internationally.
Wow, that's remarkable. So your pilot, you took people from a combined 68 days in hospital to 0.
Yes. That
is just outstanding, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck and look forward to hearing about what I think will be an eventual rollout. I certainly hope so. And I just all the luck in the world, because this is going to change the quality of life for so many people who have enough challenges without having to go through hospitalization, UTI, all of that sort of thing. So thank you so much, and thank you for talking with me.
Thank you, Jonathan. Pleasure.
I met up with Levi Hofste, a tech entrepreneur who has developed a new app that completely invisibly will track MS fatigue, will report it to you, will report it, if you like, to your neurologist. And it'll track all that over time, so you and your doctor can get a real sense of where the trends are and how they're occurring when you're experiencing MS fatigue. The app is called NeuroKeys. It's going to be available as a free download this summer, and Levi gave me a sneak peek at what it's all about. Well, how would you like an app sitting on your smartphone that's going to measure and track your fatigue so that you'll be able to see where you're trending, and you'll be able to share that information with your physician if you choose to? That app's going to be available to you this summer. It's called NeuroKeys, and I am sitting here with Levi Hofste, who is one of the co-founders of the company that developed this app. And Levi, why don't you tell us a little bit about NeuroKeys?
Okay. Hi, John. Well, this whole thing came together during a hackathon 2 years ago. My mom is an MS patient, so that's why we joined in with our team of data scientists and developers into this hackathon. And we want to come up with a way to unobtrusively gather data about your energy levels. And so we came up with an app that replaces the standard keyboard on your phone, so the thing you use every day for typing, texting, WhatsApp, and everything else. We don't look at what you type because that's private, of course. We look at how you type. Because in your typing rhythm, your pattern, so your own typing behavior, there's a lot of information there about cognition, motor skills, your emotional state, etc. So we capture that data. We add sensor data from the phone. So how are you holding it? Are you shaking? Are you moving? And that kind of stuff. Of course, there's health kit data on your phone. And with that, we make an easy to grasp chart on your mental and physical state so that you know how you are doing day by day.
So I've actually seen the app. I can tell you that the keyboard is a regular looking keyboard, so you won't have to learn anything new. It'll be pretty transparent while you're using it, but it's going to give you the kind of information that the keyboard on your smartphone today really isn't capturing or helping you with. And I think this is just a great tool because a lot of times it's so helpful for your neurologist to be able to see trends over time as opposed to simply asking you on the day of your office visit, so how have things been going lately? This will give them a lot more information than things that you may or may not be able to remember or share at that moment. So I think it's a wonderful tool. It's going to be available for free, and it's going to be available in both iOS for Apple as well as at the Google Play Store for Android devices. Where can people go to find out more about NeuroKeys in the meantime?
Online, of course. You can go to our website, neurokeysapp.com. It's in Dutch and in English, so don't worry. There's a little flag at the top where you can switch languages. More languages will come this summer, and all the information you need is there. We are starting our clinical trial soon in the US and in the Netherlands. And yeah, like I said, it's privacy and security first, and unobtrusiveness second, because you didn't ask to be a patient in the first place. So,
well, that's great. I want to ask you one other thing. You mentioned that this app came out of a hackathon. So could you explain a little bit about who was involved in that, how it took place? I know some of our listeners may not be as familiar with hackathons as you and I might be.
Okay. Well, it was a hackathon is a competition. And often it's a weekend, 2 days. And all sorts of people with different backgrounds, most of them tech or research or whatever, come together to solve a problem. This hackathon was organized by the VU Medical Center, a large hospital that specializes in MS in the Netherlands, and they invited people to join in with a team to solve a problem. And the problem was, with clinical data alone, we can't solve this MS puzzle. So please help us with ways to get real world evidence, so day-to-day data in. And there were 22 international teams from Mexico to Belgium and all over. And they all have their own idea. This was ours. The thing is that you need to make a working prototype during that weekend. You have to present it to the judges that it actually works and it's not only a brain fart. And the team of specialized judges pick a winner. And this time it was us.
Well, congratulations. I think it's going to be a great tool, and looking forward to the summer rollout. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, John.
I'd sum up the International Progressive MS Alliance Scientific Congress as a rich, motivating, and inspiring 2 days where the attendees were invited to unreasonably raise the bar when it comes to developing new strategies and treatments for progressive MS rehabilitation and symptom management. Cindy Zagaboilo, the president and CEO of the National MS Society, reminded all of the attendees that, and I'll quote now, "We're bringing the world together to ensure that we're focused on finding solutions for progressive MS." I'll only add that while this may be the end of this scientific congress, I think we'll remember it as the beginning of new ideas and new collaborations and new strategies that will all lead to better outcomes for people living with progressive MS. My name is John Strum. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.